I'm Brittney Saunders and welcome to today's bonus episode of Big Business. And this is my first ever bonus Big Business episode. I feel like I've got a lot to say all the time. So what better way than by coming to you every single Wednesday with a bonus episode? I'm going to be using these bonus eps to expand further on what I discussed in the main episode. I'm also going to be using this as an opportunity to answer some of your questions because I've been getting so many on my Big Business Podcast Instagram account, which I'm absolutely loving. So by all means, keep them coming in. And it's just another place for me to talk about the things that I love doing. So for today's very first bonus ep, I'm going to be telling you all a little bit of a secret. This almost feels illegal that I'm telling you this because we're only in the very early stages. And I always see people say, don't talk about what you're doing, just do it and stay quiet. Every time I see those motivational videos, I'm like, oop, because I'm the opposite. I always talk about what I'm doing. What's the worst that's going to happen? The store's not going to go ahead. Oh, well, that's part of the business journey. Sometimes you start things and they don't quite work out. But today I'm going to be revealing for the first time where our 5th store location is going to be for FAYT. Can we get a drum roll edited in here? All of you in Adelaide are going to absolutely hate me. All of you in Perth are going to absolutely hate me because it's not in Adelaide and Perth. I hate to burst your bubbles. FAYT is coming to Parramatta in Sydney. Yay! I need a audience clapping audio thing added in. Oh, confetti, there's fireworks happening in the studio. It's all happening. FAYT is coming to Parramatta and I'm going to talk a little bit about it and where we're at and why we have decided to go with a second Sydney store for our 5th store location. So for all of you in Western Sydney, get excited because we're coming to Parramatta this year. It's all starting to happen now. I can't explain to you how illegal this feels that I'm revealing this in a podcast. I've never done that before and this is so exciting and it's an exclusive. You heard it here first, people. All right, so why Parramatta? Especially when our community are begging for us to open in Adelaide and Perth. Now, I want to start by saying, for those of you that are in Adelaide, you are absolutely on my radar. I don't want you to think I'm not thinking about you guys. I absolutely am. And I'm hearing you. I'm reading your comments. I'm getting your DMs. But with Adelaide, it's actually really hard to find a commercial space that is available at the moment and suitable for what we want. And I'm letting you in on some juicy goss here. Moving forward with FAYT, now that we have 2 boutique stores and 2 Westfield stores, we are only going to be moving forward with boutique stores from here on out. And look, never say never. Down the track, I very well may go back on saying this, but for the time being, we are sticking to boutiques. And that's another thing that I want to mention on this podcast. It's okay to say things and then go back on them. I feel like as humans, we often will have an opinion on something or we'll be so set on something. And then let's say a few years down the track, you might actually change your mind about that. I feel like as humans, we can feel guilty about that, about changing our mind, especially if it was something that we were so passionate about. But when it comes to business, you're always going to change your mind. You are going to think one way and then down the track, that is absolutely going to change into the complete opposite. And I remember when we only had our Newcastle store, which we've had for over 4 years. And I remember saying when we had that, if I ever open any stores in the future, I'm never going to open in a Westfield. I'm never. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that for whatever reason. And then years down the track, we ended up opening a Westfield store. So I went back on what I said and that's fine. And I remember back then I had people say, why did you open in Westfield? You said that you never would. People change their mind. And that's okay and that's fine. And especially in business, you will change your mind about things. So now we've done 2 Westfield stores, which do amazingly. And then I remember when we were going to open our Hawthorn store in Victoria just late last year. And I remember being scared because I'm like, shit, we've only done, Newcastle, which is a boutique, Miranda and Chermside, which are Westfields. Then we went back to a boutique and I was so scared about that, thinking, what if the boutique will only work in Newcastle? Because we're from Newcastle. That Hawthorn store in Victoria has absolutely blown me away. Here I was thinking it was going to be a quieter store because it's, in a suburb. It's not in a shopping centre. We don't have that constant flow of I mean, we do have foot traffic because it's a busy street, but it's not like retail foot traffic, everyone's shopping for clothes. That Hawthorn store of ours is our number one performing store out of all of them. And that says a lot, and that's said a lot to me. And that has given me confidence moving forward to continue to open boutique stores instead of going into shopping centres. We are opening a boutique store in Parramatta, which I feel like isn't really a thing in Parramatta, but I'm like, fuck it. At this point, I'm so confident in us and in FAYT. I think we could open in a freaking gutter under the bridge and people would come to us. It doesn't matter where we are, but I will say, I'm not going to tell you the address, but it is so close to Westfield Parramatta. Like it may as well be on top of us or something. Like that's how close it is. That's the only clue that I'm going to give away. It is so close. And I think the people at Westfield Parramatta are going to be mad at me because they've been hounding me to go actually into the centre, but we're not in the centre, but we may as well be, if you know what I'm saying. So why are we coming to Parramatta and why Sydney? Why are we opening another store in Sydney when we already have one? First things first, I will say our store in Westfield Miranda is like an hour from Parramatta. And from what I've gathered from everyone's comments on social media since we opened in Westfield Miranda is people saying, open in the west, because it's an hour drive, and an hour in Sydney is like it's not just like a cruisy little coastal drive. Like it is so much traffic to go from Parramatta to Miranda. So they're nowhere near each other, right? Secondly, Sydney is the number one city that we ship to by a mile. That's just a known fact. You can look into all those stats when you have a Shopify store. And I remember when we were opening the Miranda store, AJ was literally going in and we were looking up like the areas that we ship to the most, which we haven't done with this store. We just know our customers are in Western Sydney. So it's an absolute no-brainer for us. Another reason why it's a no-brainer for us, it takes us 1 hour and 50 minutes to drive to Parramatta from Newcastle. So I know that's still like a lengthy drive, but for us, that's a freaking 20-minute drive. Logistically, it is so easy for us to set up another store that is within a driving distance. It takes out that whole middle part of having to book flights back and forth and hotels and this and that and the other. Like it's so convenient for us to be able to just drive, especially now that we've got the FAYT-mobile. AJ can be carting stock down in the FAYT-mobile every day. And if we quickly need something, it can just happen straight away. And the other reason why this is a no-brainer for us is because when I stumbled across the listing online, and I look at commercial real estate like people would go onto realestate.com and look at houses. Like I go and I look at commercial real estate because I'm always trying to find the next best shop. When I saw this shop, I was like, it's made for us. It's fate that we're meant to be in there. And when you all see where it is and the space itself, you'll go, no wonder she took it. We're going to do a full fit out. It's a cold shell, which I've spoken about in my retail store episode. It's a cold shell, so we're doing the whole thing. I'm so excited to document this all again on social media. And I think having these boutique stores creates a really unique experience for us as a business. Like, sure, people love coming to our Chermside store and our Miranda store, but I think there's something special about us being in a spot that no other retail stores really are. Like, it just makes it different of an experience because people will drive there and they know they're going to that one shop kind of thing. And it just really works for us.
How much do you care about your neighbours when you're looking for a location?
Good question. I would say not that much. Obviously, like if it's weird businesses either side, then I might be like, But like with our Hawthorn store in Victoria, on one side is a clothing store, like ladies fashion, but their pieces are like $800. So when I saw that they were the neighbours, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to come in and take them out. And they were not happy when we opened as well. We had lines down the street and they're like older women. I haven't seen them much, but they're like, can you ask your crowd to not line up in front of our shop window? And then on the other side is like a little tapas bar on the other side. And where we are now, I don't want to give it away, but there's no clothing store on either side of us. There are businesses on the either side of us, but they're not clothing at all.
And why do you rent, not buy your commercial properties? Like, is there a reason for that?
Well, number one, I can't afford to buy every time. Like, I don't
Soon.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously I've never purchased any of our properties, number one, because I can't afford to. If I could, I probably would. or even just some. And obviously you can't purchase a Westfield store. They have landlords, but with our Newcastle store and our Hawthorn store, like I could purchase them if the opportunity arose and if I had the money to do so. But commercial properties are just as expensive as houses, if not more. So you're looking at millions of dollars to purchase a store, or depending again on the size and everything and whatever. But yeah, both, I think definitely our Hawthorn store and Newcastle store would be over $1 million to buy. And when it comes to business, paying rent isn't the worst thing in the world because it is a business expense, which will then, at the end of the financial year, help to bring that tax bill down so that you're not getting slapped with a huge tax bill.
Yep.
So the more expenses in a way for a business, the better. You just don't want to be spending too much and not making enough in return kind of thing. So that's why I haven't purchased any of them. But again, who knows? I might be against purchasing now and I might own 5 in the future. You can change your mind on things. But yeah, I'm really excited to be opening in Parramatta, and for all of you listening who are in Western Sydney or near Western Sydney, I feel like the good thing about Parramatta, it's a real central spot that a lot of people can get to, and I feel like a lot of people go to Parramatta now. And if you're going to Westfield, Parramatta, you're coming to FAYT. That's how close it is. I can't even begin to stress that enough to you. Hey, if you want to do some snooping on commercialrealestate.com, you might very well be able to find the spot. Where we are at with the process right now, which I spoke about in my retail store episode, we've signed the heads of agreement, which is just something that you sign like before the lease. We've paid our first deposit and now we have our hands on the leases. And when you get a commercial lease, you'll then go through it and they're bloody long and massive. And our solicitor has it as well. So he goes through it with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure if you're ever signing any kind of contract, agreement, lease, anything in business, read that shit again and again and again, because people can sneak stuff in there. Not that that's ever happened to me, but I'm sure it has. People can sneak things in there that will maybe bite you in the bum in the future. So that's what we're doing right now. We are just going back and forth with the solicitor. We'll be signing that lease and then we'll be getting on to all the fun stuff. I've already engaged our architect who we work with for all of our other stores, and we're going with a bit of a different style for this shop as well, which I'm so excited about. It's still going to look kind of the same. Like we have these beautiful stores. It's all light and bright, but I want to put a bit of colour into the fit out. And because it's a blank canvas, I have that opportunity to kind of add a splash of colour in there. And by colour, I mean like nice neutral colours. I'm not going to go like hot pink or lime green or anything. And I really cannot wait. And fingers crossed it all goes through, because that's going to be fucking embarrassing if something comes up and then it doesn't go through. But hey, that's a part of business. But as soon as I sign that lease, it's kind of all happening. And I think our lease commences soon, but I negotiated with the landlord. As you'll know from that last episode, everything's negotiable. Get yourself some rent free, get yourself this, that and the other. And I just can't bloody wait. Store number 5 is underway. And I'm really sorry for any of you that are in Adelaide or Gold Coast or Cairns or Canberra, wherever all of you asked me to open. We're not coming there, but we are coming to Western Sydney. So look bloody out. While we're on this topic, I thought I would give a shout out to last week's episode. If you haven't seen it, well, you haven't seen it obviously because you listen to podcasts. If you haven't listened to it, it's all about the true cost of opening a retail store. So by all means, go and give that episode a listen if you haven't, because it gives you an in-depth look at what I'm about to go through all over again. We're working with those same budgets again. So see you later to all my money, but it's an investment. It's a risk at the same time, but in my opinion, or so far, it's been worth it to open these stores. So wish me luck. And thank you so much for listening to my first ever bonus episode of Big Business. And you can look forward to seeing all the behind the scenes on my Instagram and TikTok. I'll be documenting the whole thing as usual, but even more so. I want to really show everyone, especially now that I have this podcast, I'm just really inspired to show more of the behind the scenes. So I'll be taking you through the entire process of setting up FAYT Parramatta. Yeah, up the eels. Maybe we can get the eels there for the opening. They can all do like a archway at the start with their hands up. Like, you know, when people at a wedding go through everyone's hand, we could have the Parramatta Eels out the front in their uniform, the cheerleaders, and then everyone can get cheered into the store. I'm going to fucking make it happen. You look out. I feel like with these bonus episodes, I can be more myself too. Like, I'm really professional in I'm still myself, but maybe in these bonus episodes, I can be a little bit more rogue, a little bit more me. Anyway, thanks for listening to first bonus ep of Big Business. I'll be back on Monday with my main episode, and in the meantime, feel free to subscribe to my podcast. If you aren't already, we've got 2 episodes a week now. It's all happening. There's a new store happening. Go follow me on my Big Business Instagram. Send me a message. Do whatever you want. And don't forget to rate 5 stars. I'll see you all next week.